Hello and welcome to Blender Bite Size. In this video I'll be showing you how to make this material procedurally in Blender. Feeling lazy? You can support this channel and skip the hard work by grabbing the blend file for this material from Gumroad for just £1. Feeling flush? Feel free to throw some of that coin my way using the coffee link in the description below the video. Okay, let's get started. So I've already loaded my shape. I've gone into the shading tab. I'm going to enable viewport shading, and I've got a principled shader already applied. We'll make a couple of changes here first. Metallic we are going to increase to 0.15, specular to 0.6, specular tint to 0.25, and roughness to 0.4. The clear coat we're going to increase to 0.1. and the index of refraction to 1.47. We'll leave everything else as it is there. Now we're going to start creating the colour. First I'm going to add a texture coordinate. I'm going to put it way off to the left. Next we need a colour ramp, so press Shift A as we normally do, search for the colour ramp and plop it in next to the shader. Plug the colour from that into the base colour of the main object. And we're going to change this to a green, so we'll put the value right up, we'll put the saturation right up. We'll take the hue round till we find the kind of green that we're looking for. Let's go with 0.35. Oh no, let's go with 0.3. No, let's go with 0.32. And we'll actually bring the value of that one down until it's quite a dark green. So let's say 0.15. For the other colour, we're going to use the same hue, which I think was 0.31, I can't actually remember. Saturation all the way up. And then the value we'll leave at 1. Maybe actually we could drop the value a little bit. Maybe to 0.5. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to change the colour mode to HSL and leave the mix mode to near, and that will give us a smooth blend between those two colours. Next up, we're going to search for and add a Voronoi texture. We'll take the distance from that and plug it into the colour ramp, so we can see we've got a little mottling effect going on. Next up, we'll add a layer weight. And we're going to take the... Sorry, I beg your pardon, that's not right. We are going to add a mix RGB shader in here. Take the colour from that, plug it into the vector of the Voronoi texture. And we need a noise texture to muddle things up a bit. Take the colour from that, plug it into colour 2, and the object from the texture coordinate, plug that into colour 1. Change the factor to 0.3 and the mix mode to linear light. So we can see we've now got much more distortion and a bunch of things going on. The scale on the Voronoi texture we're going to increase to 10. Leave the randomness at 1. Everything on the noise texture is going to stay as it is. Now this is going to affect just the colour, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to bunch this together. Select all 4 of those and press Ctrl J. Then press N to open the side panel with the Node tab selected and call that colour. Press N to get rid of that again. Now we're going to work on the texture. So we're going to start by adding a bump node, plugging that into the normal. We're going to add a second bump node, and plug the normal from that into the normal of the first bump node. Change the strength of the first one to 0.25 and the strength of the second one to 0.35. Next, add a color ramp. And plug the color from this into the height of the second bump node. Move the black to about halfway along. And then add a noise texture. Take the factor from that into the factor of the color ramp. Change the scale to 20, detail to 15, and leave everything else as it is. Now we need to add a mapping node here. And we're going to take the vector from this into the vector of the noise texture. And then we'll take the object from the texture coordinate and plug that into the vector of the mapping node. And you can see now I've got this sort of raised textured effect. I'm going to add another noise texture. And another color ramp. And another mix RGB shader. So we'll take the vector into the noise texture, the factor from the noise texture into the color ramp, and the color from the color ramp into the factor of the mix shader. Change this to difference. The black is going to come to 0.25 and the white to 0.75. We'll leave the color mode and the mix mode the same. You're going to take the color from this mix shader into the height of that first bump node. Now we've got two spare slots here, so we need to add a couple more textures. So we're going to add a Voronoi texture. And we'll actually duplicate that. Pop it down here. Now the vector from the mapping node goes into the vector of both of those. And on this one, the first one, we're going to change the mode here, distance to edge. Change that to 50. And then we'll change the second one as well to distance to edge. And change the scale to 35. And we're going to take each of those and plug them into that mix shader. And you can see how that's having a massive impact on the overall textures going on here. Now that's our texture, so what we can do is actually do what we did before for the colour, so we can keep organised and see where everything is. Select everything that went to make up that texture. Press Ctrl J, N, and name it texture. So now you can see which elements you need to change for which aspects of the skin. So whether you want to change the texture or the color. So now I'm going to send that to render. I'm using the Cycles render engine with my GPU, doing 1024 samples and very low light settings. And there you have your reptilian skin. So don't forget, you can change the colouring and the texturing independently, but this kind of gives nice amphibious reptilian type effect. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and of course subscribe for future content. In the meantime, thanks for watching.